nothing to do with any of this. But she was subpoenaed. And we caught wind of this and crossed our fingers that she would come on the air with us. Our producer at the time, who was the most unconventional producer ever,
got results.
She agreed to come on the show with us to discuss what she could about her relationship with Bill Clinton. And since that time, she's pretty much stayed out of sight. So we know, Haney and I had Jennifer Flowers on the air, and she was more than happy to talk about anything. But Dolly Kyle was not. She was very reluctant to come on the show. But we got her on, and I listened to it for the first time in 19 years today, and I said, oh my God, some of the stuff that she's saying, so relevant right now about what the First Lady Hillary at the time, now running for president, knew, how strong the Clinton network was of shutting people up, and her fear, and exactly what happened with her and Bill Clinton. And it's I listened to it and I said, boy, she was quite forthcoming, and reluctantly so, that 19 years later, I guess it deserves repeating to help, especially the young people out there, that this has been going on with the Clintons for decades. Here, from November 19th, 1997, the Stan and Haney interview. This is not coming from any newspaper. This is not coming from any news site. We spoke with her one-on-one. Dolly Kyle Browning, November 19th, 1997. On the phone with us right now is Dolly Kyle Browning. Hi, Dolly. According to our producer and from what I've read, you've really not spoken too much about this.
No, I haven't. I've spent most of my time trying to avoid talking about it, but I did get subpoenaed, so that sort of brought it to the fore.
I guess they sat you down for like 3 hours.
I can't talk about the deposition.
I understand that, but that's already public that they had you in there for like 3 hours.
Yeah.
You knew him as Billy.
Right. Well, I mean, I was 11 and he was 12 when we met, so he didn't introduce himself as President William Jefferson.
Sure. But you went to high school together with him?
Right, and we met in grade school, actually, and yes, we were in the same high school, and I skipped another grade to graduate in his class, so we graduated together in the class of 1964.
So your relationship with President Clinton spanned many, many years, and I guess took many different forms.
Exactly, and the people that call it a 33-year affair forget that it started when I was 11. Mm-hmm. Please, even in Arkansas, it was not an affair then.
And I guess that up to a point that it didn't particularly bother you that you felt some loyalty to him. I guess the turning point was up at the 92 campaign, when I guess it was your own brother had told you that if you started talking about your relationship with the president, bad things would happen.
Pretty much the term was, we will destroy you.
Is that really?
Yeah.
Well,
those are not words you forget.
No.
Yeah.
This is your brother telling you this.
Yeah.
How I take it the relationship somewhat soured at that point with your brother?
With my brother?
Well, what did he get it from the at that time the governor's people to go through him to tell you to keep your mouth shut?
My brother has been a friend of Billy's for almost as long as I have. I mean, our families have known each other for decades. Mm-hmm. And my brother started campaigning with Billy in 1974. My brother was a pilot, and he would get private planes to use. Someone would lend it to him so he could fly Billy around the state. So he had been campaigning with him since 1974, and he was with him in New Hampshire in 1992.
So did that shock you? If you're thinking in your own mind that you really have no axe to grind and mean no harm for that kind of statement to come out, that had to floor you?
Well, I was not prepared for that, because all I was trying to do was to warn Billy that this was happening, and I wanted to talk to him, obviously, because I was pretty upset about it. And I thought that we were the two people involved and that we should speak person to person about that. But obviously they saw it differently.
When was the first time that you and Bill Clinton had an intimate relationship?
Well, I don't want to talk about that.
Probably not something that you wanted, but you have come to the forefront of this as the third woman out there.
I was subpoenaed.
And you were subpoenaed.
Yes, I didn't volunteer.
And
well, whatever you want to call it.
But it's there. I mean, it even states on the 30th reunion, he wanted to strike up the relationship again. I mean, I've read that.
And this was when he was president.
The high school reunion, 94, he was already president.
So he was already president.
Yeah, I was.
And you called the president of the United States an asshole to his face? Because that's the quote I've got here.
Yes, I did, but I don't normally talk like that.
How did that come out at the reunion?
I mean, how did it what happened? How did it come about that you called the president of the United States an ass?
It was a long evening, and I avoided him up until I was late. It was probably after midnight. I was dancing with somebody else. He approached, and I again tried to avoid him. I turned around to walk away, and I was sort of stopped by the throng of people wanting to see him, and with my back to him, I felt his hand on my arm, and he said, whoops, he said, how are you? Just in some sort of a patronizing, condescending way, more like, how are you? And I just...
And it just came out.
And I turned around and I said, you're such an ass. I can't believe you'd bother to ask.
And my hat's off to you for that. I mean,
Did the Secret Service jump on you at that?
Well, the Secret Service guy who was standing right beside him reached out his arm to grab me, and fortunately, Billy put his arm up to block him. And so...
And did he have any response to that?
Well, he said, it's okay to the Secret Service guy, and then he said to me, you've got to understand what I was feeling at the time.
Well, you can take that several different ways.
Well, I guess you could.
Did the fact that he was a married man bother you at any times when he maybe tried to make advances towards you? From what I've read, a lot of the times that you two got together was when Hillary was out of the state of Arkansas. I mean, did it lodge into your head somewhere that, all right, he's the governor and he's a married man, this just spells trouble?
I would like to tell you that I had all the right thoughts and that I was trying to do the right thing, but I was very busy rationalizing my behavior as I believe he was. And in our minds, I think it was, we go way back, and we together precede all of these other relationships, and there's something special about this, sort of a dispensation from all rules. Now, obviously, that is incorrect, and it was immoral, it was wrong, but that's what goes through a person's head when they're doing things that they know are not right. I mean, you have to come up with some reason other than just saying, boy, I am really being a bad person here.
Yeah.
You have to rationalize. And the fact that he was governor bothered me in the sense that I knew that he wanted to be president, and I often said, you need to be careful.
So you would tell him that?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Do you, as a woman, knowing women's intuition and all that, sense, your opinion only, that she knew what was going on?
Well, I know that early on, before he ever married her, he told her about me. And I know that she knows I was around, and she was sometimes at the mansion when I was there. So she's certainly aware of the fact that I was in existence. Now, you asked me if she's smart. Of course, she is very smart. She's extremely bright. And the old thing, the wife is the last to know, I don't think that's always true. I think the wife is often the first to know and the last to admit.
Do you think with all of this thing, the Paula Jones, the Jennifer Flowers, your name coming up now, do you feel the president is getting a raw deal, or this should be brought out in the open?
I think that as you sow, so shall you reap. I mean, these things happen, and I don't think it's surprising. It shouldn't be surprising.
Other than the incident at the 92 campaign and at your high school reunion, has there been any other kind of contact or veiled threats or any other communication?
Well, I certainly haven't had any further threats.
But there has been communication?
I don't communicate with him directly at all.
Hot Springs, Arkansas, where you grew up and the president grew, that was a pretty wild place in its own right, wasn't it?
It was, and it was, somebody wrote, I guess it was in the London Times, they wrote a hotbed of adultery and insider dealing and all that, and of course it was.
I've got one more question for you, Dolly.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I'm still...
It sounds like that kind of last thing, the little thing.
No, don't worry about it.
Okay.
You will be on much tougher shows than this one.
Oh, yeah.
Well, maybe not. You see, I can choose.
Yeah, there you go. But, just thinking back to what you were talking about in 1992, when your brother says, "We will destroy you," what does that mean?
What does it mean to you?
I took that to mean reputation, that we have control of the media, we will trash you, we will give this our own slant.
Have you spoken to your brother since?
Well, we had lunch together at my mother's 80th birthday party 4 years ago.
And that's it, huh?
Yes.
So he remains close with the president then?
I don't know, because I'm not close enough to him to
Yeah,
know.
right. All right, Dolly. Well, we appreciate you coming on. You did well. I know you were a little bit nervous about it.
Well, I don't really like to talk about it, but by the same token, I'm afraid if I don't talk about it at all, then somebody else is going to be making all of these statements, and I think it's better if I do it.
Yeah, better it come from you. Dolly, thank you so much.
Okay, thank you all.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
There you go.
Wow.
19 years ago. And she was threatened.
How are you?
And she knew it, that they controlled the media, they could go and destroy her. And that meeting, the "how are you," that was while he was president of the United States. And she would be with Bill Clinton when Hillary was away, when she was there. And as she pointed out, a great line, she says they claim sometimes the wife is the last to know. So she says, I think they're the first to know, they just won't admit it. And you got to realize with Bill and Hillary, it's a bargain they made. We're going to go all the way. And we're going to get what we want.
Bargain made down in Mississippi at the crossroads.
And so the only thing is that the airing of that for the first time in 19 years is that so many people are
You've
trying...
forgotten about it.
Totally.
And I mentioned it to you a couple of weeks ago.
So many people are trying to, in the media, go and talk about Donald Trump's interaction with women, and we know where it's coming from. It's coming from Hillary's campaign and her people. And the fact of the matter is, if you just open your eyes, it's been going on the other side for decades, confirmed.
Well, and the WikiLeaks, if there's anything about that's bad, it's that there's almost too much. People can't keep up with it. And what has happened to Trump had been planned out, and it's in the emails, and they called it, the swift boating of Trump. Where are we on that? We need to have it all set up to go. And it's just hearing that for the first time, and how that has been a part of our lives for the last 20 plus years. And it was going on with Bill Clinton all the way back to the 70s. And people laugh about the media.
Yeah. And what are you asking for right now? You're asking to put them back. Make up your own minds.
Oh, I think it'll be far worse than him.
Yep, far worse. We're going to take a break. And when we come back, Mark, Haney, and the news. We're Stan and Haney, 96 K-Rock.